All right, good Monday morning to you. Hope you're doing well and had a wonderful weekend. Maybe you got some rest, maybe you didn't, but it's Monday, so got to do what we got to do, don't we? So I'm here to talk to you for just a little bit to hopefully inspire you and encourage you a little bit. We've been talking about extreme ownership by Jacko, Willink, and Leif Babin. And I got the chance to speak to the team this morning on Chapter 7. And Chapter 7 is prioritize and execute. And so what Leif shared with us in the book was that him and a group of SEALs and some other soldiers, Iraqi soldiers and such, they they were going to go deep into enemy territory. It was a place where the enemy had felt confident, where they had a lot of resources and a lot of people, and and wanting to gain ground in the battle and in this war over in Ramadi, they knew that they needed to make their presence known. And so what that spoke to me was in life, there are places that we need to get to, places that we need to go in life, and it's going to take us making big plans. It's going to take us purposing to drive farther and deeper into whatever it is that we're wanting, wherever it is we're wanting to go. Nobody ever gets anywhere by just taking, yeah, sometimes our steps, we take one step at a time, yes, but we plan for those steps to get us somewhere that we need to go. And so that's what they were doing here. Our military forces here in America, what they were doing in this war, and they were putting it all on the line. They were taking big risk and taking and making opportunities for themselves and for our country to help those that were over there and to make their presence known. And so basically they said they stirred up a hornet's nest, and that's what they did. They went right in the middle of where these enemy fighters were strong. And they took a two-story building, and in this two-story building is concrete walls, and they got blasted and hammered at and shot at, machine guns and AK-47s and all these things. They're just pummeling this building. And so they get shot at, they shoot back. And I mean, it was a hard situation. And then something that we need, that I think that we can realize in life that'll help us is that when we're going to push out and do something in life, we might as well expect a hard situation. If we think that we're going to go somewhere good and do something worthwhile and that we're not going to have opposition, we're mistaken. We got enemies out there. We got an enemy that wants to push us down and press us down and keep us from excelling in the things that God purposes for us to do and that are worthwhile in life. And so these fellas, they're out there and they're in the middle of this situation, and bullets are flying. And Leif, he's the commander here, and he goes to one of the other floors in the building, and he checks with one of the commanders there, and wants to know how he's doing. And in the process of him about to talk to him, bullets start flying, and he steps back and away from the window and all that. And literally, I mean, just bullets are flying in front of him, but he's got a concrete wall here to help him. And he's just pressed up against there, and he looks over and he gives Leif a big smile and a thumbs up. And so it's what they expected. And I think we got to be careful that our expectations are correct. I mean, if I know of a young couple that got married a little while back, and I tried to help set some expectations in their hearts and their minds that, hey, this is not going to be easy. I mean, 1 out of 2 marriages fail. Why is yours going to survive? Start thinking about those things, and you got to plan and you got to prepare for these things in life. I mean, that's what they did to get into that situation. They went there in the dark of the early morning, and they got set up, and they brought a lot of ammunition with them because they expected a fight, and they were getting what they expected, right? And so their expectation was correct. If it wasn't, they may have just hunkered down and waited to die and gave up. But they knew what to expect, and they still went after it, and they went prepared. And so that's what we need to do in life. We need to go after what we feel like we're supposed to go after and what's worthwhile. We need to have a vision of what our future is to look like, and we need to be pressing towards that vision. And as we do, these things are going to come against us, and that's just part of the way it is. And so there they are, and everything happened the way they expected, but they let their presence be known. The enemy didn't like it, of course, and so they're fighting with all that they have, and they gain some ground, and they wound um, some of their enemies' targets and things like that. And but they couldn't go back the way they came. There was an IED, 130 millimeter, 230 millimeter IEDs, explosives that would go off that they would trigger when they went out the only way that they could go out. And so that would have taken out half the platoon. And so they had to sledgehammer through a concrete wall to then go off that place down to a lower level. And as they did, they go on this lower level rooftop, and it's not a good tactical position. And so as they're there, this commander knows they're in a bad spot and they need to do something quick. Well, they figure out that the exit is locked. It's barricaded and locked. Has the locks on it, they can't get through. And in the process, in just a few of these seconds, and these things being figured out, one of the seals falls through the roof. There's a plastic tarp on the roof, and they couldn't tell it because there was dust and things like that over it. And he falls 20 feet to the ground and to the floor. And so, in this moment is where the teaching lesson is in this chapter: prioritize and execute. So here they are. They're on a low ground, could be shot at. They don't have an exit there. One guy's fell through the roof, and he's laying down there moaning and groaning, hurt. And so Leif was tempted to be overwhelmed. And they've been trained, though, what to do when that temptation comes to be overwhelmed. Most of us haven't. Most of us haven't had people speak into our lives where in that moment where we could be overwhelmed in a situation, what to do, how to think, and how to react, and how to respond. But the SEALs had done a good job in training not only the commander here, but also the others that were part of this group in that same training of how not to be overwhelmed in a situation that seems overwhelming. And so this is the order of how you respond in that moment. And it is relax. First of all, relax. Number 2, look around. And number 3, make a move. And so you have to relax first. If when these situations come in our lives, and we all have them, okay, where we're tempted to be overwhelmed, when they come, the first thing we have to do is relax. If we get overwhelmed and we allow our emotion to take over us, then we're going to struggle on making the right decision, because our brains do not think correctly when nerves are taking over, when fear is taking over. We're not going to be able to make sound decisions, and we're called to be of a sound mind. And so we have to relax first. We can't let the situation control us, but we got to control ourselves in the midst of that situation. So as we do that, we're able to think correctly. And as we think correctly, we begin to look around. And for them, it was to see, what's most important in this combat situation. For us, it may be in that work situation, may be in that financial situation, or whatever that is. And so we look around and we think, okay, here's our options. We're looking around to figure out what's most important and what our next move, our best move should be. Okay, because you can't make 5 moves at once. You got to find that number 1 best move, make that move, and then once you start to make that move, then you can plan move number 2 and 3 and so on. And so for them, it was set security. They're on a low position. There's windows and rooftops that are around them where people could shoot at them, and they have nothing to hide behind. And so they set security like that. Then they knew they had to work on getting off the building, because they're going to explode these 2 IEDs that are over there at the doorway. And there's a time ticking on that where they're going to explode those and set them off so they don't hurt them or anybody else. And so in that process, they get the breachers, who their job is to help them to get through locks and things of that sort. So set security, call the breachers, and then they begin an exit plan and to be able to get that wounded man and get out of there. And so you look around, you find the best priority, or the top priority, and then you set to make that move. And so you make that decision to start working on that top priority. And then while that is in process, then you begin on number 2. Sometimes maybe you have to wait till number 1's done, but you move on number 2 as soon as you can, and once you start number 1. And so that's a way that we can move through things in life to help us to get out of these situations that are heavy and that have a lot of pressure, that would try to immobilize you from continuing on and making steps and progress towards your vision, towards your goals. And so know today that you don't have to be overwhelmed, that it's a choice. And being overwhelmed is not going to help you, right? It's not going to move you where you need to be at. And so it is a choice. Sometimes I realized in my life that there seemed like some things were automatic, like I just automatically did them, but I didn't. There was a process that took place. There was decisions that were made to get me to where I was going or to do what I was doing. And it was only when I stopped to focus on them that I realized that, no, I'm making a choice here. I've made it so many times in this same way that it has become a habit, and it's habitual that it happens, and so it happens very quick. A habit is something you don't have to think much about because you've already thought about it so many times and done it that it's habitual. And so if our habit is wrong in these pressure situations and times, then we need to change that habit, and we have the ability to do that. We are free thinkers, and we don't have to do what we did yesterday. We don't have to have another morning again tomorrow like what we had this morning. If we were stressed out and perplexed about starting another week or starting a Monday, there's more strokes and heart attacks on Mondays than any other day, if I'm not mistaken. It's either that or it's Sunday because of Monday that's coming, but I think it's Monday, and I think we all get that. Um, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so, no, today as you go out there in the world, and as I hope, these guys they had big plans to push into enemy grounds and to do something worthwhile. And I hope today that you have big plans to push in, to take ground towards your dream, towards your vision, towards excellence with your family, your work, your career, your spiritual life, and know that the enemy's coming. But when it gets hard, when the pressure comes, relax, look around, and make a move. Keep your head and work and practice on learning to do these things versus getting overwhelmed, and your life will be better for it. You'll help fulfill more of the purposes of God in your life and in others around you, and you'll have a blessed life. And I didn't say easy, but I said blessed. And God will bless you for doing the things that He's calling you to do, and working on making yourself better and others around you, loving them well and honoring your God. So have a great Monday, great week, and we'll see you again next week.